Good evening, Line Golf Academy guests, and welcome back. And I'm sorry I haven't been uploading, but I have been rather busy instructing and getting sites ready, prepared for spring and summer. But I'm back for the meantime. So Joseph Kavanaugh, I found his information browsing around YouTube late one night, and I found this very interesting because he has been trying to be a long driver since he was a child, and I'm talking 5 years old. If you go to his link down in the description below, Joseph Kavanaugh LD, you will actually see some videos of him and his journey. Really cool to watch. But I found this video straight from his channel, and we're going to watch this. We're going to diagnose his swing from down the line. We're actually going to watch some of this video. We might not get the whole video through, but we're also going to look at the other competitors in this event. Now, this, I believe, is the first round in Connecticut from summer of 2023. So let's just get Joseph right off the bat here and look at his motion. It's a very impressive one at that. As we see normally, we see this back and forth motion from long drivers, and this is quite typical of them now, is they're getting that accentuated motion of shifting the weight right to left. And we can see a key thing that he does is notice how his hands are going up and down that plane line, and you'll see his plane line actually is here, and that final up and down, he stops it right there. So he plants that plane perfectly. Now you might think that this is pretty upright, but I want you to look at this motion. This first motion is key when you're trying to establish a lot of turn. Is as we take that club back, we can see the hands go low. However, they're going low because look at the upper body is just standing out of its posture initially. So we do get a flatter shoulder tilt, and when that shoulder tilt flattens out, we can actually turn because this is more of a natural motion to turn. If he were to keep that left shoulder down, it'll be very hard for him to stay in that posture and get a lot of turn. So this allows the long drivers to get a lot of turn right away, and his arms have not gone up to that secondary plane line right here. Key thing, because as he gets that turn, he is still connected. He's basically in his starting position. He just turned his whole body at the camera. Now from here, he still carries that turn through. Now the arms can go to that secondary plane line quite good. And we see that right there. So some positives, some negatives. Obviously, he's trying to hit this as hard as he can. I don't think this is how he swings when he plays on the golf course. And correct me if I'm wrong, Joseph, if you're watching this. It'd be fun to play with you if you play like this, but I'm pretty sure you shorten it up and have a little bit more control. So keep that in mind when you're watching these. Now we take this first move. Take a look at this. We go from a up spine angle, so we can see that upright spine angle. Now he has to get back down to his initial spine angle. So we see that lowering of the body to get down to that initial spine angle. So now we're similar angles that we started with. That gets his arms right in between that plane. So we now today, that's very steep, very upright, but this is a necessity for him. If he gets that thing to shallow out, it might help his numbers a little bit, but I'm not quite sure if that is the correct motion for him at this time. So let's keep moving forward. As we get down, we can see that club is perfectly in between these two, slightly above that golf ball, but it's no problem because he keeps that club right on plane. Club face is slightly open to his spine angle, but that's perfect. You don't want it to be wide open and have the hands engaged. You don't want it to be closed and hold off that release. So he is now pulling his lower body left, and he's getting spacing between here so he can now keep his hands connected as he drives through. So we see right at impact, look at this, it is just perfectly on plane. As he releases it, it is still perfectly on plane. As he comes through, watch that whole upper body work away its round. We can see that right shoulder much lower than the left, so he still maintains that hip tilt, and his arm, look at that right arm, gets that secondary plane line pretty close. Notice how much of the body is pulled left from his starting point here in that green little line here. So we see the weighting is coming through perfectly in his spine angle. So this is a very, very strong person, and he's utilizing his mechanics very well. And we can see that obviously, look at that motion pulling his body left. This is very normal. You have to get that weighting left. You have to come off your left foot, or else you'll start snapping knees and ankles, and that's not a good thing. So I thought that'd be pretty cool to watch, but let's take a watch at the rest of this video, and we can start to pinpoint some of these things that these guys do that they have in common, and we can also look at some numbers that we have. But what we'll notice is a lot of turn right away early, maybe coming out of their posture and maybe somehow getting back into that posture, and that's usually where we see the discrepancies of misses. We see hard lefts, we see hard rights because they're going up and down. They lose their tilt and they have to regain that tilt, and that losing and regaining the tilt affects that club face path and position at impact. So let's watch here. Perfect. Well, let's back up a little bit because I think that's a really good one to take a look at. So if we back up to, look at that left leg coming out. So if we back up to the starting point, we can see again, let's watch that one piece takeaway. The arms don't really pull away from the body at all. He is turning. Left shoulder is not coming up as much as we saw with Joseph, but it's definitely losing some tilting. We can see it's flattening out at the top of the swing. And this is where we come on down and we can see that re-tilting. The right shoulder definitely tilts under, and we need that to keep our hands more out in front of our chest. And as we strike the golf ball, look at all that pressure on that left leg and that left foot. We release it. Look at that. So the whole body is turning open. The lower body is opening to allow the body to turn and face the target. We see some hand manipulation. So we see that right hand already crossing over to the left side. So this might have been a slight miss, but we'll take a look if they show that replay. But look at that posture on the way through. Definitely the whole hips are facing the target, body's facing the target, hands are out in front of the chest, and we completely turn through. So that is how you generate a lot of power. And I believe this is the same swing. So let's take a look at that result as we strike that golf ball. So yeah, definitely look at that right shoulder tilting back. We're starting to fall away from our target. Now this is definitely flattening out. So we can see, look at how that club head is working behind him. Next frame, it is completely working behind his body, definitely flattening out. So these numbers might be pretty good. As we come on through, we can see that left leg has to break out. So that was a block to the right, and it is tailing off to the right. So this is where they get those misses. And look at these numbers. So 153, 214. Let's get a quick calculator out here. I'm not that good at math off the top of my head. 214 divided by 153, and we're looking at a 1.39 smash factor. So that's definitely not in the center of the club face. Not sure where he hit it. These numbers don't allow me to see that, but the ball speed should be a little bit higher. Now let's say if we can get a 153 club head speed and you multiply that by 1.5, that ball speed all of a sudden will be 229. So that's 15 miles per hour further, which equates to about 30 yards further. I don't know if they show the actual distance here. Let's keep going forward. If they do, that'll be pretty cool. 168. There it is. Carry distance 333. So if we can get an extra, what was that? 229, and that would be 15 miles an hour further. So that's an extra 30. So that would be 363 yards carry, and definitely some rollout. We can see that spin rate is 3,682, which prevents a lot of your distance. So if you can get that spin rate to be about 1,800 and that launch degree to be about 15 to 16 degrees, now we're talking 420, 430 total distance. So let's clean this up and let's keep this thing moving forward. All right, I'm not too sure who this is. It looks like Jay. That's his last name. Notice how high that T is because I have to really tilt under. And whoa, that is way left. Let's take a look at what happened there. And this is normal. Remember, we have a lot of these issues with the readdressing of the tilting on the way down. So we see that left shoulder is not quite as high, so the hands are definitely separating from the chest. So we can see from here to here, it's almost like we stop turning the upper body and the hands pull back. They're going on their own journey. See how that affects them. So there's definitely a lot of hand manipulation here. So we see, oh yeah, look at that tilting. That's pretty impressive. So as we strike the golf ball, we can see club face isn't quite as shut as I would have thought, so this might just be a path issue, club face close to the path. But you can see why you shouldn't swing this hard most of the time, because most of these guys need 4 or 5 shots and find one in the fairway. I mean, that is probably 3 holes over left, or definitely on the 4 or 5 freeway if you play in Rancho Park. Let's take a look at this individual. I believe this is Ryan. My eyes are bad. Ryan somebody. So strong grip. See, a lot of these people have strong grips. Ball position, look at that ball position off the front foot. Tee is very high to help go underneath. So let's pause that one and let's take a look at what happened here. So as we take that club back, we can see that there's, again, hand manipulation. Hands and arms are kind of going independently. So not as much turn as we see with Joseph. Hands have to retime and get out in front. So you see a lot of this steepness with the long drivers because their hands have to go very high to allow that club face to go past parallel, well past parallel. Some of these club faces are pointing to the ground, and as we come on through, we see those hands now have to readjust instead of that turning. So he's trying to turn, but there's not as much turn. He's kind of stuck towards his toes. You can see the heel spinning around the toe as opposed to pulling that weight back behind him. So if we go back to the beginning, we're going to try and manufacture the setup. So even let's just put a line there. Let's take a look at the weight line. Yeah, he's definitely standing up at impact, and he's definitely flipping through. So this could be a late delivery. If this was struck, I believe that might have gone right. What are you noticing about this is that some of the things in common. Now look at Joseph's tee height. I mean, that is just launching it to the moon. So we can see how much he is trying to swing under and fall back to launch this golf ball. Now let's see if we can get this right at the top of his swing and slow it down. There goes that weight distribution. Now let's take a look. So he's hanging back. Is he going to fall back? So it looks like he catches it right on that upswing. So this is how you get those hands out in front of the chest. We see this severe tilting, and we see a lot of turns. So hips are facing the camera, shoulders facing the camera, chest is facing the camera, everything's facing us. We can see the spinning of the hips. We can see that whole left foot coming up and past impact. Whoa, that looks like something you see on NBA, but we can see, look at that, ouch. That just does not look very healthy, but he's young, can get away with it, but you can see how this can be cause for concern if you're out there trying to swing like this. But let's take a look at that ball flight. So he strikes underneath it, and we see, yeah, a little bit off to the right, but let's take a look at that spine angle retention. See if we can see a little bit of this. So we're going to try and capture this right there. Okay, so we're going to draw. I know that this isn't exactly, stereo loss connection. So I know that this isn't exactly perfect, but let's take a look at, there we go. So he's sitting down, he's holding that angle, and then we see the body going left of that angle. So what was the result of that? So we have club head speed 151, ball speed 209. So I think that's what, 1.28, 1.29. Let's take a look. 209.9 divided by 151.7 equals 1.38. So my math is way off. So 1.38 smash factor. Spin rate is 2,000, not bad spin rate. And launch angle 13, pretty close. But again, if you can get that thing to the high 1.4, so even if you get 0.1 more smash factor, that can definitely increase your ball speed. Remember, it's not club head speed that counts, it's ball speed. Let's just say it's 1.48. So we go to 151.7 times 1.48. We can get a new club head speed of 224. Let's give me a ball speed of 224, which is, again, 15 miles an hour, which is, again, is about 30 to 40 yards, depending on your spin rate and your launch angle. So if you get 30 more yards, that's carry distance 380. Now you're in the low 400s after rollout. So this can really help identify how efficient you need to swing. Now, keep in mind, it is very hard to strike the center of the clubhouse. Excuse me, I can find the center of the clubhouse pretty easily on my good shots, but it's very hard to find the center of the club face when you're swinging so wild as they are. And it's expected in the long drive because they are just swinging out of their shoes, and they just have to hit 1 out of 4 or 5 golf balls somewhere in that wide fairway. So if you watch this, all 4 of these people going at it, just look at the consistency of the ball flights. So there's Gavin, again, struggling with the lefts. Ryan's got that burnt out little low ball to the right. And let's see, Joseph, again, we're going to look at that impact. So there's a little bit open club face, and we take a look at these numbers. So let's back up because I think that's a good numbers here to look at again. So let's pull back, and we're going to look here. So there we go. Okay, so carry distance 315, club head speed is 150, ball speed is 210. So let's divide those by each other. So 210 divided by 150. Let's take a look at that smash factor. So we have a 1.4, so a better smash factor, but he hits it with 30 yards less. Because look at that spin rate, 35.92. So if he can get that to be 1,800, that's where a little bit more distance will come from. Launch angles, 10. So if we can get that to be 15, that's where we can see high launch, low spin. That's where everything is the secret. So if you are looking to add distance to your swing, you have to figure out how to get a high launch, low spin. So go to instructor that has a flight scope and figure out what your launch angle is, what your spin rate is, and slow down your swing. Maybe put the ball 2 or 3 ball positions further up in your left foot or your right foot, depending on if you're lefty or righty, and then just tee the ball a little bit higher and see if that changes it. So there are a few things you can do without adjusting swing changes first. You can also try different shaft flex. Shaft flexing is very important to make sure you have the right launch angle and spin rate. Myself, I changed shaft flexes from a stiffer shaft to a weaker shaft as I'm getting weaker and older, and it actually helped my spin rate. It actually lowered it. It actually increased the launch angle. I changed my ball position slightly. It helped my numbers. And then if that doesn't assist me, then I look at flexibility. Then I look at what is my cause for these numbers to happen. Now, Gavin has got the case of the lefts all day long, so I'm not sure if that's an alignment issue, but it seems like it is a rerouting issue. So Joseph went on to the second or third round, but this is a person I want you to watch. And Joseph, reach out to me if you're watching this and need some advice on your swing and how to change it so you can get those numbers to get a little bit more in your favor. You are definitely strong enough. You are definitely athletic enough. It is really cool to see you showing up in your sneakers and t-shirt, just like I like to see it. Golf is for the public. Let's get some more public out there. So hope you guys enjoyed this. If you do like this, hit that like and subscribe. It really helps me grow and helps educate more people like you who are interested in learning cause and effect of the golf swing. Let's get that red line off. That thing's driving me nuts. Sorry, Doc. I know you're probably watching this and that probably drove you nuts. So I'll see you guys in a couple days. Got a couple busy weeks lined up, so I'm going to do a little bit more of these, and then we'll get back to the edited versions that I know you like to watch. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time. Fairways and greens.